Best Public Affairs Program. And the star goes to Open for Business Net 25.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business is in Japan! Konnichiwa, Japan! I am now about to cross the infamous Shibuya crossing, and Japan is famous for its technology, anime, manga, arts, culture, and tourism. The land of the rising sun is also home to over 290,000 Filipinos. Our trade and economic ties with Japan are getting rosier than ever as we celebrate 50 years of ASEAN friendship and cooperation. These two nations have a long history of cultural and economic exchange, and over the years, their relationship has grown to encompass a wide range of areas from trade and investment to political cooperation. In this episode, we will be discussing this relationship. We'll hear it from Mr. Robespierre Bolivar, the Deputy Chief of Mission of the Philippine Embassy in Japan, on the economy and politics of both nations to gain a better understanding of how the relationship has evolved over time. We'll also talk to Filipinos living in Japan to learn more about their experiences and be inspired with their success in business.
This portion is brought to you by Red Juice. Mas masarap ang pakiramdam kapag malinis ang kalooban.
Gundam is the giant robot anime franchise in Japan, a very popular culture icon here. In 40 years, reports say that the franchise had grossed more than $20 billion in retail sales.
natural disasters, earthquakes and typhoons, etc. I think they thought it was incumbent upon them to make their movements more predictable. Kaya that's one of the sources of the discipline, is that anything can happen at any time, so we have to all work together, as a community, to make sure that everybody's safe, to make sure that our society can go on even after. I mean, you can imagine 2011, during the Fukushima incident. In a few days, almost literally in a few days, the society was back up and running and trying to recover from the devastating effects of the earthquake and the tsunami. So I don't know if you can see that anywhere else in the world except Japan.
We almost, encounter the same calamities and disasters. But what do you think, sir, are the areas, specifically in the diplomatic relationship between the Philippines and Japan, where there is a very strong connection?
It's good you mentioned that, because as our viewers know, the President was just here about 2 weeks ago. One of the documents that were signed was terms of reference on humanitarian assistance and disaster relief cooperation. So we have been cooperating with Japan on a number of issues related to disaster risk reduction and climate change mitigation, etc. With these terms of reference, we want to move it forward, strengthen the cooperation, as it were. We still have a lot of things that we need to do. We have a lot of things we can learn from Japan on earthquake response. They have a lot of things to learn from us in terms of volcanic eruptions. Our experience in Pinatubo was hailed around the world as one of the best practices that countries can learn from in terms of managing the fallout of a volcanic eruption. So marami rin sila dito in Japan. They can also learn from us in terms of typhoon mitigation.
Yun ang marami tayo.
And over the past 5 years that I've been posted here, I've noticed also an increase in the intensity of the typhoons that visit Japan. And that's something that we can impart to them. So it's a two-way street. We can both learn from each other. We can strengthen our cooperation, government to government. In terms of yung pandemic, for instance, Japan is setting up or has set up some sort of parang CDC, Centers for Disease Control, that is similar to the United States. And that's something I think that we also want to set up in the Philippines, so we can collaborate on that. We have disaster relief experts from the Philippines visiting Japan on study tours, especially prior to the pandemic, because marami tayong kailangang matutunan in terms of not just disaster relief reduction, but also in terms of reconstruction, in terms of building back better, build safer communities, so that if and when natural disasters strike, we mitigate the impact on the economy and we lessen the number of casualties.
With the visit of the President, you mentioned that there are MOUs already. But minsan, sir, ang nagkukulang tayo doon sa larangan ng teknolohiya. They may be fast because they have the resources and they have the technology for that. Is that also part, sir, of the discussions on this resources, technology exchange? Are there concrete action plans or proposals in terms of investments for technology and anything related to disasters?
Yes, we do have government-to-government interactions in terms of science, technology, and innovation. Yes, particularly with regard to exchanging best practices on disaster relief and disaster risk reduction. Among the issues that we discuss when our experts are here or when their experts are in the Philippines is how to impart technology and the know-how to mitigate risk during disasters. As a concrete example, one of the things that we're starting now is cooperation in space technology. We have launched, I think, 3 or 4 Philippine-made microsatellites using Japanese rockets.
Wow.
So they're now in orbit. Part of that is learning. First, syempre, we have a nascent space industry. It's very new. Philippine Space Agency has been around only for a couple of years. We are trying to learn from the more experienced Japanese space agency. And part of that is learning how to launch satellites and keep them in orbit. And the ultimate goal of that is so that we can have our own functioning satellites, which we can use for remote sensing, for not only for disaster risk reduction and urban planning, but also for irrigation, for climate change mitigation. So it's a whole spectrum of applications that are space-based that we are now trying to work with the Japanese.
When the economy was opened, somehow, there's lesser restrictions already. And with one of the activities, Let's Net Together, which was supported by the Filipino community, we see the vibrant number of Filipino communities and individuals attending that. In terms of the policy of the Japanese government po in opening the economy, what are those? And are there still somehow limitations or restrictions as far as the pandemic or COVID-19 is concerned?
What we have observed here is, of course, like any country, they want to open up the economy as quickly as possible because we have lost so much during the last 2 years of the pandemic. But they want to do so in a responsible way. Japan, for the last, decade or so, has been relying also on income derived from tourism to shore up their foreign exchange reserves. At any given point, prior to the pandemic, you saw millions of tourists coming to Japan. And if you can imagine the impact it has on the economy, when you remove the income you get from those tourists, how many businesses are affected, how many employees either lose or get distributed. So now that the pandemic is easing, you see Japan carefully in a calibrated fashion, but also trying to open up the economy to tourism as soon as possible.
Pero ano po yung main contributor ng GDP nila?
I think it's still manufacturing, industrial output.
Correct.
So kaya
Pero yung tourism po?
Yung tourism is very significant. I think in most countries after the pandemic, they probably want to make sure that hindi sila beholden to one particular industry. At the same time, that tourism is sustainable. We saw this in Europe because I was posted in Europe before. We saw this even prior to the pandemic. Yung impact naman ng tourism on the local communities, on the tourism sites themselves, di ba? Yung parang sa sobrang dami ng tao, nasisira yung beauty ng tourists, yung tourism sites. So they want pinauso yung sustainable tourism. So I think Japan is also thinking along the same lines post-pandemic.
They call you nanay, ma'am, but you look very young. Like, matagal na po ba kayong nanay ang tawag ko sa inyo dito sa New Nanays?
Yes, everybody calls me nanay. Yung mga bata, pantawag na sa akin, mami.
Ilang taon na po kayo dito?
Sa Japan, so almost 30... mga Pilipino dito during that time. So naisipan ko na may na-open na counter type lang na space. So that was 6-seaters. Doon kami nag-umpisa sa 6-seaters.
So mas nauna yung translation business ninyo kaysa sa restaurant business?
Yes, 2002 I have my translation office. Hanggang ngayon, nandiyan pa rin yung opisina.
Ano ang mas magandang business? Yung bang translation o itong restaurant business?
Maganda ang translation kasi sarili mo lang yung mundo mo. Dito naman sa restaurant, maganda rin kasi everyday iba-ibang nakikita mo mga tao. Yung mga hindi ko namimit na tao, lahat namimit ko dito.
Nanay, galing kasi kami sa Philippine Embassy at sabi nga nila, halos madadaanan itong lugar ninyo, di
Yes,
po ba, pag
oo.
pumunta? So, how is it working or doing business that's very near the Philippine Embassy? I think parang hindi ba, parang halatang advantageous yon para sa inyo dahil maraming nakakabisitang Pilipino.
I must admit, that's true kasi during sa lunchtime, talagang yung mga customer na galing sa embassy, yan ang target ko. Talagang silang kumakain dito. So basically, mga galing talaga sa probinsya. So they wanted to eat some Philippine food. So that's why inisip ko na mag-ano ng restaurant dito.
Okay. Ma'am, alam po natin na mahirap din ang pagtatayo ng negosyo. I'm sure pinagdaanan nyo rin yung mga challenges. At hindi lang sa Pilipinas ang mahirap magtayo ng negosyo. As a matter of fact, di ba nung pandemic, marami na pong nagsara. Pero kayo, hindi lang kayo sa Pilipinas nagtayo, dito sa ibang bansa pa. At dito pa namin kayo sa Japan nakilala. Ano po ba yung mga challenges ng pagtatayo ng negosyo sa ibang bansa katulad ng Japan?
Unang-una, palagay ko, ang naging malaking challenges sa amin, hindi kilala ang Philippine food.
Oh,
So,
really?
isa yun sa talagang napakataas na hurdle na inano namin para makilala ang Philippine food.
Kasi pag sinabi mong Japanese food, kilala sa buong mundo, di ba? Hindi katulad maybe sa Filipino food, minsan ang ayaw pa nilang kainin yung balot natin. Pero
Yeah.
di ba? Pero sumisikat na rin naman yung ating adobo, di ba? So, paano po yung ginawa ninyo para makilala naman ang Filipino food?
Ang naging plus factor sa akin, nang naglagay ako ng Japanese na cook.
I see.
Japanese siya na siya nagluluto ng Philippine food. Kasi ang mga Japanese, parang pagpasok nila sa restaurant, wala silang nakitang hapon. Parang pupunta nga sila pero parang aloof pa sila na parang hindi nila tulugar. So pag kami nakita sila na may Japanese dito, pati nagsiserve Japanese. So medyo na sila, komportable na sila.
Naging kampante sila dahil doon. So, pero matagal na ba yung Japanese na cook or Japanese chef po ninyo sa
Siguro
inyo? O
mga-
iba-iba kayo
No,
nun?
yung Japanese cook ko is actually husband ng anak ko. So 10 years na siya sa akin.
Yan, mga kaibigan, mga nanonood ng Open for Business, that's the basic insight here. The insight is for you to establish a business, you have to at least know the market, but be the market, di ba?
Yes, yes.
So, ibig sabihin, kailangan you have to involve somebody who's very familiar with the market, the people, and the
Yes.
culture.
Yes, opo.
Yeah,
Totoo.
so, nung natapos nyo po yun, doon nyo na naramdaman na parang gumanda ang
Gumanda
negosyo.
kami, lalo na yung sa gabi namin. Ngayon, ang gabi ko, 85% ng customers namin are Japanese na.
Wow.
Sa araw, 95% Filipinos. Sa gabi naman, talagang puro Japanese kami. Masasabi ko lang kung sino man po ang may gustong na mag-put up ng negosyo, kailangan lang po talaga ang tiyaga. Hindi siya pa makukuha po ng 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. Ako, ang tagal ko rin po bago ko na-establish ang sarili ko. Talagang kailangan lang po ang tiyaga.
Okay, Open for Business will be back. Stay tuned.
Hi mga ka-netizens! Ako po si Yo Andrada ng Anong Meron Kay Abok at Quezon City. For more live and updates, please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment sa Net25 TV.
Let's get together sa Net25.
for Business is back, and this time we are in Akihabara. You know, for people who love technology, gadgets from cameras, cell phones, any electronic devices, Akihabara is the place to be if you are in Japan. Dito makikita yung good quality products at affordable prices. And if you are into any of the many devices and you are looking for a place where everything is there, Akihabara or Akiba is a must visit here in Japan. Open for Business is here in Japan, and we will be speaking not with the Prince of R&B, but the King of Philippine R&B, JR.
Hey, what's up? Thank you for having me.
Yes, we know you as the King of R&B, but there is another side that we don't know. So basically, you're also an entrepreneur. So can you give us that background? How you went into entrepreneurship?
Me, of course, I'm a singer. That's my number one. And, you know, I'm getting pretty old now. And I mean, even when I was a young singer, I knew I was going to get old and I can't be singing for the entire time. I can't be flying to Japan or flying to Canada. You know, it's going to take a toll on my body. So I realized na kailangan ko talagang gumawa ng passive income with businesses. My first instinct was convenience store. A 24-hour convenience store.
Really? Where? Is that in the Philippines?
It's the Philippines. I did a mini stop. It was in San Juan. Pero the thing with that is, I'm a singer. I couldn't be there and manage it. So medyo nag-fail ako dun. But the good thing about failing in business is you get to know where your strengths and your weaknesses are. So after I failed in that venture, naisip ko na parang mas pumasok ako sa mas madali because, you know, a convenience store has hundreds of items and you have to take inventory, you have to do all of this. So, ang dami. And although it was very lucrative, we were making a lot per day, yun lang, I couldn't manage it properly kasi, of course, for any business, you have to be present naman. So, naisip ko, I would have to, you know, come up with a business that probably sells only one item and an item that everyone needs. So what I went into is tubigan.
Wow.
You know, everyone needs water.
Exactly.
You know, and it's only one item, so there's not so much inventory. So I opened up a spot. It's called Too Big. Toobig. It's too big. Yun. And now it's in E. Rodriguez. You can find it there. And we're doing pretty well. We've been up for about 7 years now. And
wow. But you don't have plans of expanding it? Like how many? You said there's only one store for now.
There's only one store for now.
But do you have plans of putting more?
Absolutely. I have more plans on putting up more. Right now, I'm going back and forth from LA to Manila. Kaya medyo slow lang yung pag-expand namin. But most definitely in the future, we're definitely going to expand. But, you know, syempre, me as a musician, na-realize ko din if I'm gonna get into business, it should be into something that I really know, that I'm really passionate about. So, you know, even before the Tubigan, I started my record label, which is called Homeworks. And we have myself there, we have my wife, Mika Javier, we have Chris Lawrence, we have Jaya's daughter, Sabria. She's very talented. So, yun ang ginagawa namin. We produce music videos, produce concerts under Homeworks, which is another aspect of my entrepreneurship. But not only that, also have real estate, have a couple condos and some land, you know, we rent out to people. So I'm trying to create this passive income so I can live my life going back to Manila, going back to LA, because in LA, if you don't know, it's super inflated. Everything is so expensive, right? But my family is there, so I want to stay there, be close sa pamilya, my dad, my mom. Kaya yun, mas maganda na to really become business-minded, to create your own wealth. And that's what I'm doing now. You know, I feel like I still have a long ways to go, but the important thing is that I started it now, I have a vision, I have a passion for it. and I just continue doing it.
There are also comments on the longevity factor, like say when they say that your type of music, R&B, is also, you know, something that would always be there. So, and with the brand that you have established with your name, so far, artists come and go, but here you are, and people are very familiar with your
Thank you.
type of music. What's your comment on that?
Well, I think my comment is persistence lang talaga. You know, I see a lot of artists na they do very well in the beginning, but later on, they start to fall off. And my evaluation with that is, kulang sa persistence lang talaga. Let's use me as an example. My biggest hit is Bakit Pa Ba? And it's not so R&B, it's more of a ballad, more of a slow song, heartbreak song. The only R&B in is the way I sing it, but the genre of it, it's more ballad. And that song was 20 years ago. And since then, I've been making songs trying to beat Bakit Pa Ba? And it's so hard. So hard. And I think that's the problem with artists, is that they get very discouraged na parang, syempre yung biggest hit ko, hindi ko matabunan, parang laos na ba ako, ganito. So I feel like it's really persistence. They really have to keep going for their passion, really strategize on what kind of sound you have to really get into. It's very important talaga to stay on your path and don't get jaded by everyone else's success and whoever else is doing well. Parang you just focus on yourself, you know, and just really elevate and keep building with that.
What's your thought on the impact of social media on you being a musician and an artist?
To be honest, I love the era now in music with the social media platforms. It levels the playing field for everybody. You don't have to be the big Beyonce.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a Stevie Wonder, diba, na parang to put out music. Now, anyone can put out music, like you said. That's what's important. The platforms is what catapults the song. And now there's many platforms, especially TikTok. TikTok is definitely the platform. Dati TV, radio. And yeah, and that's what I like about it. It is a competition. And the good thing about competition is everyone just elevates. Everyone keeps getting better and better. Because, like, you know, if someone wants to be like a JR, and I've seen so many now that sing better than me, that can write better songs, and that inspires me to educate myself more, to write better songs, to be a better singer. Kaya I invite the competition. I really like that, and it's a very good avenue for the new artists to come up, you know. And I would want them to be as aggressive as I was. I would want them to get into the platforms and become big. Kasi that's good for me also. I just want to give a big shout out to Net25. Thank you so much for having me here in Japan for Let's Net Together. I had so much fun. Everyone was really, really nice. The crowd was amazing. But I just want to say to all those aspiring artists out there that are trying to come up, don't stop. Keep the passion going. Persistence is key. Originality and authenticity is key. So keep up the good work. I want you to be my competition, okay? So let's go. Going hard, going strong. Let's go.
Open for Business. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
Mga ka-PSL, ako di ay sigab dagangon ng Davao Occidental Tigers. Para sa mainit action, sa hardcourt, tutok lang sa Pilipinas Super League. Ito ang liga ko.
Let's get together. Sunday 25.
As clear as the rising sun, the relationship between Japan and the Philippines is one that is built on a strong foundation of trust, respect, and cooperation. To foster this relationship further, it is important that both nations continue to work together to address the challenges faced by Filipinos in Japan and to create more opportunities for economic growth and development. We continue to hope that business and cultural exchange brought by actual cultural promotions and from two-way tourism and the role it plays in building bridges continue to strengthen and bring both Japan and the Philippines closer together. And with that, we'd like to thank our guests for their valuable insights and you, our audience, for joining us here in Japan. We hope that tonight's discussion has shed some light on the relationship between Japan and the Philippines and the ways in which it can be further strengthened in the years to come. And our buzzword of the week is Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese term meaning change for the better or continuous improvement. It is a Japanese business philosophy that concerns the processes that continuously improve operations and involve all employees. And with that, our quote of the week is from the former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe. He said, "It is necessary to create hope for tomorrow for farmers and businesses." Domo arigato, Japan. Maraming salamat sa isa na namang oras na pagsama ninyo sa amin upang tunghayan ang isang makabuluhang usapan ukol sa negosyo dito lang sa Open for Business. Hanggang sa susunod na linggo, samahan nyo kaming muli dito sa Open for Business. Catch us too on Facebook and YouTube. Like and subscribe on our social media page at Net25TV. We will bring you more insights from industry experts, thought leaders, CEOs, and featured SMEs. Together, let us help encourage business development in the Philippines. Sharpen your business acumen, feel the pulse, and set the trend for as long as you are informed and open for business. Ito po si Cesar Vallejos. Marami pong salamat.